shirt, transform into a suit.
Oh, man. All right.
Works every time.
Whew. Hello, and welcome to Talk Heathen! Woo!
Live studio audience.
Oh, man. That feels good, doesn't it?
That is the best, yeah.
Just every week I look forward to that.
Yeah.
That feels amazing.
This morning, before I got here, I was dead tired and was thinking, oh no, this is going to be a terrible show. And then I got here, and now I'm more than ready to do the show.
We're so happy, not only for our live studio audience, but for all of you at home watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is June 17th, 2018. Today it is episode 24 of season 2. Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. But before we jump in...
As always.
How was your week, Jamie?
It's been good. It's been kind of a whirlwind, working on lots of stuff for the ACA.
Yeah?
I'm not sure if you knew this, but I'm actually the president of the ACA.
Really?
And it
is that what the little A is for?
Yeah, well, that's just I'm an atheist.
Is that how you designate?
You know what's
that you're on the
amazing
George
is that it
Soros
hasn't
payroll?
affected my ego at all. I'm still just the same salt of the earth, humble beginnings.
So you're saying you had the ego
Lord
to begin
of
with.
all atheism. Yeah, that is actually what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Lord of all atheism.
Right. So we've had some really, really cool stuff happen this week, and I am really, really excited to tell all of you that, people have been waiting for a Facebook discussion group for Talk Heathen to happen, and that might be launching tomorrow! Woo! Woo! So, you're watching this, check it out tomorrow when you hop on. There should be a Talk Heathen.
Tell us how you really feel.
Official Facebook discussion group.
Nice.
And we're really, really stoked about that. Yeah. There are a whole bunch of other really, really cool things happening. But in order to talk about the rest, we actually have somebody on the line. I can't wait to bring them on.
That's true.
So anything else before I bring on this person?
I just want to say, as much as I jokingly brag because I have a title, that you've been really killing it. There's a lot of work and organizing to be done and training of team members. I know you hate it when I bring this up on the air, but it needs to be said. You have been busting your butt. We swear on the show. You've been busting your ass day and night because you can work remotely, and I don't let up as a taskmaster to get this done. So thank you. I guess that doesn't really work for them because they don't know.
No, but
he's awesome. In case
this is my
wondering.
passion, and this community is something that I will put my blood, sweat, and tears into, and something that I have, and something that I am incredibly, incredibly lucky to have an amazing team of people who I'm working with to roll things out. But
as long as it's metaphorical blood, sweat, and tears, then
we'll talk later. I actually have an incident report.
Wait, what?
There's workers' comp here, right?
Nope. We don't have the budget.
All right. So I'm actually going to dive right in and say hi to Chelsea. Chelsea, you are live with Eric and Jamie. How are you doing?
Hello, guys. I'm great. How are you?
Oh, we're doing
marvelous.
So good.
Yeah.
So, for people who don't know who you are, Chelsea is one of the sweetest individuals that I've ever met. Chelsea actually came to the ACA to see my first time on the Atheist Experience. Chelsea is also
She's here
regularly here to screen calls and is also a board member.
Yep, member of the board.
For the Atheist Community of Austin. Chelsea, thank you so much for calling in.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to have you call in so that we can talk about some new things that are going on. What kind of stuff is going on? What kind of changes are people going to be seeing as far as our social media and online presence?
So get ready to see us a lot more. One thing that we're working on is we are going to be way more active on social media. I'm talking Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, everything. We're also going to launch on other platforms as well. So be on the lookout for us in other platforms pretty soon. Facebook is going to get an overhaul as far as our groups. For those who are watching, if you're not aware, nearly every ACA show has its own discussion group, Talk Heathen being the newest. But we also have Facebook groups for the Atheist Experience. We have one for nonprofits, the Preaching Humanist and Atheist Roundtable, and the ACA itself. So feel free to join any of these groups or rejoin. What we're focusing on is just creating interesting conversations.
Hello?
And to have a relaxed environment, especially regarding moderation. Things are going to be really casual. I just want to hear, talk with you. So feel free to join all those groups. What else? Remember, and possibly Patreon people later on, we are starting up the newsletter that we've been promising forever.
Yes, we are!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And you started to cut out just a little bit, and so I want to reiterate something that you said, and that is that moderation is going to be taking on a stance that really focuses on compassionate atheism and the promotion of positive discussions and contributing toward this humanist culture that we are all working together to create. And so things are going to be changing, but we're not going to be doing things, that people aren't going to be able to follow with. There are going to be new rules posted tomorrow, and people will be seeing those changes. Chelsea, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Chelsea has been working hard behind the scenes. Chelsea has been a moderator on Facebook, but since she is a board member, being a board member means that you're not going to be able to moderate anymore. And so you've been training those people who are going to be stepping into the void that is going to be created when you step out. And I just can't thank you enough for everything, Chelsea. This has been wonderful, and I know that we couldn't have gotten here without your help. Chelsea?
Did we lose Chelsea?
Oh.
I think she's...
No. She
she's
got
back on hold, yeah.
got put on hold. Chelsea, you still there?
Particularly
Can you hear
since you're
us?
making...
Sorry about that. My phone dropped, and so I called right back. But I'm
Okay. I was going to say, particularly since you're making the ultimate sacrifice of, instead of working with moderation directly with Eric, working on the board directly with me, and that's a sacrifice no one should be asked to make.
No. Yeah, it's a bad one.
You're supposed to...
I will fall on the sword.
That's fine. I'm fine.
But I was just thanking you. You and Janet in particular have been truly, truly phenomenal. And I'm so grateful, not just to you and Janet, but to our other people across other platforms. I'd like to give a shout out to Joy and Zach and John. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think that's about it. Am I missing anything else, Chelsea?
Before I let you go, I don't know if I got cut off, so I don't know if you mentioned it, but we are still looking for volunteers.
Yes.
I'd love to have
need more.
some more moderators for Facebook, YouTube, you name it. And also, we would love to have some people help us with our social media accounts. So if we've got some Twitter people, Instagram people, maybe Snapchat people, we'd love to have you on board. So if you're interested, email us at social media, all one word, at atheist-community.org, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We'd love to have anybody who's interested.
That's perfect. And so just to reiterate, social media at atheist-community.org if you'd like to be a part. Thank you, Chelsea.
Got it. Absolutely.
I'm so glad you called. This is awesome. So I can't wait to see how things go. We will see you on Facebook tomorrow. That's all of you. We're so excited that we're going to be launching the Talk Heathen group. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's
All right.
been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Thank you for calling in, Chelsea.
Yes.
This
Have
has
a
been great.
wonderful rest of your day.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you later.
Yeah.
See you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've gotten a look at the stuff that you're working on for the newsletter, and I'm excited to get it because I haven't gotten to. I've got other things I have to do, but yeah,
Having amazing writers, graphics, and cartoonists. There's going to be actual cartoons that are.
That should be said as well. If you're interested in volunteering, not just for social media, but in general, particularly, I would say, a specific set of skills, but just any set of skills, or you're just eager to help, we're a volunteer organization. We're looking to do a lot more. So,
Yes.
oh, as president of the AC, that doesn't add anything. Please come volunteer. I'm wearing a suit. Help.
We have a few more things. The first that I want to bring up is that I had mentioned that I'm going to be going to Vegas at the end of this month, and I was really, really excited. I had a couple emails from people who want to meet me when I go out to Vegas to celebrate my birthday.
Oh yeah. You're
I'm
having a little meetup.
Well, you know what? The president of the Humanist Association of Las Vegas actually emailed me and said that they're going to do an event. So if you are in the area, or if you can get to Vegas at the end of the month, we're going to be posting the details on where you can get to meet me in person. And I'm really, really excited to get to meet all of you. Also, incredibly important, this is the part of the show now where we thank our top 5 Patreon supporters. I know, right?
Who are our top 5 Patreon supporters, Eric?
Our top 5 Patreon supporters are Wellington Smith, Anthony Lucier, Joe White, Jeff Montgomery, and Donald Jones.
Thank you, guys.
Lower levels, if you still want to be a top 5 patron.
If you want to be a patron of any kind, hey, Eric, if I wanted to be a patron of Talk Heathen, where would I go?
You would go to patreon.com/talkheathen to me.
Ooh, that is a catchy name.
Right?
Well chosen.
You can also actually get ad-free versions of the podcast and the YouTube, depending on the level that you're at. If right now on our top 5, we have people who are donating $3 an episode, and you're on our top 5. It is not impossible to get to, y'all. Please consider becoming a patron. It helps keep the light on. And it may actually help go toward putting people like myself and our producer.
Well, it's going to help. It's going to get us to the point where we can have staff here, so we can have this library open 7 days a week instead of 2 days.
Absolutely. I also want to give a quick shout. I was on Mr. Atheist's show earlier this week, and they were working really, really hard to raise money for somebody who needed a refrigerator. And I mean, the compassion and the kindness that people showed was amazing. They were able to raise over $600 for this person during the time that it was going. And I just want to say thank you. I saw a lot of you that are in the comments right now who were a part of this, who donated. And it just blows my mind, the kindness and compassion and empathy that people show, to be able to help each other. And I just... thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And from the bottom of my heart.
We accomplished all of that without morals. So, boom.
All right. So, are we ready to move to our first caller?
Yes, we are.
I think so. Let's go to William in Tacoma, Washington. William, you are live with Eric and Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing all right.
Marvelous.
It's a good day. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I wanted to talk about personal experience and your conversation with Ocean recently.
Oh, okay. So I was also on the Non Sequitur show, where I spoke to a gentleman whose name is Ocean, who believed in Norse mythology. And so we had a nice long discussion about epistemology and about whether or not it's a reasonable idea to believe in Thor and Odin as real people. What kind of questions did you have, William?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to say that Jamie looks rather dapper.
Doesn't he?
Eric, you need to step up your game.
No shit. Who the hell would have thought that was going to be something that would be said on Talk Heathen? Never.
Yeah.
People underestimate my ability to dress.
I know
formally,
I did.
So, yeah. Your original plan, because you see the way I dress every day, was, okay, we'll make it a thing. You'll dress down and I'll dress up, and then that way we'll have an excuse for why you're dressed so casually.
That was kind of the excuse that I gave.
And now look at us.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's up, buddy?
So
Quick, before I pat myself
down
back.
to Ocean, though. I felt like you were rather stumped when he brought up all you can really do to, gain knowledge is through personal experience. Like when you read a book, it's a personal experience. I just want to know if you have any thoughts since then, because I feel like he kind of got you on that.
Yeah, well, it took me back, and my response was that reminded me of the Matt Slick argument. And we wound up changing course before I could finish my thought, but I'd love to give that now. So I appreciate you calling in about it. We have different kinds of evidence. There's inductive and deductive logic that we use. And when it comes to deductive logic, true premises will result in a sound conclusion. And that generally works, when you're talking about subjects like mathematics and more complex subjects, so long as you can prove that the premises are true, right? But we are limited as human beings to have access to our own experience. And so it's easy to fall into that black swan fallacy of, I've never seen a black swan, therefore there is no such thing as a black swan. Well, there is, you just haven't seen it, right? And so as human beings, we really need to work on our ability to attain knowledge, and we've done very well so far by testing it and by showing those conclusions and by being open to the evidence, and we do the best that we can. We are able to get to deductive arguments through constant observation, through measurement, and through things like that. And so when Ocean would say, how are you able to come to knowledge without personal experience? I think it was putting the cart before the horse, because really the important thing is it justified to come to that conclusion? And are you justified in saying that it is a true statement when you're formulating the premises for your argument, right?
Yeah, I do feel like there's another, thing that you're not really touching up on, though.
Sure, what's up?
As far as personal experience, what you're trying to justify with that personal experience, because in his example, personal experience of reading a book, well, you can hand that book to another person, and they will read the exact same words, but they might ultimately feel differently about the same book. So if you're trying to justify personal experience, well, I felt this way about this objective thing, and I felt this way about this objective thing. That's a shared personal experience that two people can feel differently about. But when you start getting into stuff like prayer, suddenly that's an extremely subjective experience by nature.
I feel like
about how you felt with prayer.
Yeah, I feel like, just to quickly clarify, I can read a book and say, wow, this book is fantastic, and then hand that book to Eric, and he can say, wow, this book is terrible, and we have different, subjective evaluations of its quality, but we're not going to disagree about what words are written in it, because we can open it to page 5 and read it. So the fact claim portion of it.
And really, you're touching on it on a much more direct way, and I appreciate that, because when it does come to testing, it is much easier to test the existence of our hypothetical book than it is to test the existence of, a deity. The evidence required to be able to say it is this deity versus that deity, it is this phenomena over that phenomena. It takes a shit ton of evidence. And to put those things on the same level, it's just like your personal experience, man. No, dude. Those things are vastly, vastly different as far as what is required to be able to accept it as justifiable and to be able to put that into a proposition, that you can evaluate as true or false, because there's just way more. You can point at books. You can't point at Thor.
Yeah.
That said, go ahead.
Well, the way I kind of think of it is, I don't inherently doubt the personal experience that someone describes, because a lot of crazy shit can happen in people's heads for one reason or another. What I doubt is the explanation they give for their personal experience if it calls on magical thinking. that's
Yeah, because they're
it's not.
calling on things that aren't evident in reality. Just to go back to the black swan
Yeah.
fallacy, the reason that we know there are black swans is because we found them, not because someone argued, oh, well, just because you've only seen white swans doesn't mean you can't have a swan of another color. Therefore, it's reasonable for me to believe with no evidence that there is a black swan and that that black swan created the universe, right? It would be less reasonable for a person, before you found the black swan, for a person to say, hey, it's possible for birds to have different color feathers. Maybe there's a black swan out there is very different than it's possible that there's a bird with metal feathers that can create a universe, because you're extrapolating into abstract and magical thinking, which has no demonstrable basis in reality. I mean, I feel like we're sort of we're retreading territory here, I think, in the same conversation, but the point remains, when you are talking about particularly things that are basically the understanding of what is real of the universe, you don't start with this large, fantastic idea of, for example, a theory of relativity. You start by measuring the rate of acceleration on the surface of the Earth, and then understanding what composes matter, and then understanding the composition of an atom, and then understanding the composition of your solar system. Actually, I think I put those in the wrong order. But you start with small observable things, and you build on knowledge that you already have. And no knowledge that we already have points to either a swan with feathers of steel or a magical being that creates things out of nothing.
That said,
I also,
if you watch the discussion that I had with Ocean, I really deeply respect the amount of scholarship that Ocean has done on philosophy in general. I absolutely would love to talk to him again. The reasoning that he had behind the particular theistic belief is one that just kind of rattles. It's so dissonant when you compare it to the vast level of scholarship that he has on philosophy, that you could still have that level of special pleading, that was evident there. So if anybody who hasn't checked it out, and if you haven't checked out the Non Sequitur show, do that. That's important. That's actually a really cool show. I really enjoy talking to those guys. I'm glad you watched it. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a good watch, and it was good learning about a different theistic perspective. And the other thing that I think is commendable, along with his scholarly beliefs and understanding of lore and whatnot, is the community that he's built, because that's super important. With other, well, I guess more appropriately named heathens.
Hey,
no.
That's our word now.
Yeah.
Hey, they earned the title. You guys have it.
You know what?
Hey,
they're nice enough people. We can share.
Non-believers have been outcasts since it was cool to believe in Thor. All right, just saying. Not to go hipster, non-religious designation.
Oh, you went so hipster.
Well, you always say that. You say that no matter what I do.
Well, that's because
I want only one of us vapes. Sorry. Back to your actual.
I was a low blow, Jamie.
It was a little low.
But yeah, no, that community is super important, because I mean, those are, I think a fair number of those people, based off of what he was saying, are recovering from probably more oppressive Christian households.
Yeah. Also, I just want to throw in here, I'm taking a look at the chat. I had said that it takes a shit ton of evidence. Stan Gisea, yes, shit ton is an accepted unit of measurement at the studio, and it is just above a shitload and just below a fuck ton.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
No,
I thought it was funny.
That was a beautiful sentiment. I enjoyed it.
It's not metric, but it's still a good system.
Yeah. It just makes just as much sense as the imperial system.
Figure out a name for that.
So,
So I don't know if you guys want to get on to other callers or if you got any other thoughts on this.
I think we are going to move on to
Yeah.
this. Jamie, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I was just wondering whether it was going to go. I'm not sure whether you wanted to get on to other systems of measurement. I was going to say, well, that's a very different direction, but let's bring it. Did you know that a butt is actually a unit of measurement that's used?
All right. With that said, William, thank you so much for calling. Thank you for interacting and being a fan. We really appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Have a great day, guys. Hopefully you have a good day on Father's Day with important figures in your life.
Oh my
Have a good one.
goodness. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You too,
All right.
brother.
Thanks for calling in. Go without God.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Yeah.
I feel like an ass.
I'm not a father.
I actually do have a father figure who's watching right now, and Dad, I love you. So, thank you.
Insert Heavenly Father joke here.
Yeah, because that's super appropriate. We have
Well,
three lines
it's-
open, so if you want to call us, please call now, or this is going to be a very short show. The number is 1-512-686-0279. Again, 1-512-686-0279.
Eric is trapped in a small room with me. If you care, look at
don't
this.
want this.
Look at this
You
sad
don't want
face.
this. None of
if
us
you
want this.
care about your
In the
kind
arms of the angels.
All right, let's get the
Okay.
next caller. No one tunes in to hear us sing. Get the next caller.
No. But we would love to talk to Marcus in California. Marcus, you're live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
Oh, hey guys.
Hey.
Hey.
First time caller, medium time listener.
Cool. Welcome.
Medium time.
What did you want to talk about?
Oh, well, I better put my Earl Grey down here. Hold on. So I've been, okay, I'm a dad, and I separated from my children's mother a long time ago. I'm an atheist. She is a born-again Christian.
Ooh, I came from that one.
What caused?
Yeah, it's complicated.
May I ask what
Yeah.
church?
Sorry.
One of those non-denominational Bible churches.
Please tell me Calvary Chapel. Is it Calvary Chapel?
It is, no, oh, that's much too liberal.
What? Maybe you're Calvary Chapel.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No.
Go on.
We're in California, and that church went way deep on the other side. Anyway, so my daughter is 18 and leaving for college at the end of the summer, and she does not know I am an atheist because when my ex-wife and I separated, we agreed that we were going to raise the children as Christians. We've got 3 total. And now my little girl's going away, and I guess I'm concerned about how to come out to her because my daughter is a Christian, much like her mother, and my 2 sons are not. They're atheists like me. And so I've always supported my children in whatever choices they made. And to be fair, their mother has come a long way as well. Years ago, she let the boys get the video game Skyrim, even though it has magic in it, and she was deadly afraid that it was going to bring
Cast a
Satan
spell?
into the whole thing. And so I feel like I've been, I guess I'm feeling kind of guilty and stuff that I've been, quote, hiding my atheism from her, my daughter.
I would say that's not I don't think that you should blame yourself for that at all. I mean, it's always, I can say from personal experience, I've always felt closer to someone when I was able to share a larger aspect of my life with them, but I would say you should feel guilty, when you fail to fulfill an obligation to someone, but I don't think you were necessarily obligated to share that, particularly if you and your now ex-wife agreed to raise them Christian, although I don't know exact nature. Sorry, when someone's blaming themselves for something that I don't think they should, I always jump in. But
Yeah, you had good
Yeah.
reason, man.
Yeah, and I guess as you know, the kids are out and doing their own thing, and coming out is difficult, and I think she'll be fine with it. My daughter, that is.
Mm-hmm. Does she think that you believe at all?
I believe she does. Yeah. I mean, I've tried to engage her on several different. We're free to talk about stuff. Political issues and marriage equality and stuff like that. And I tried to get her involved. I tried to do a Bible study with her. She's read all of the Gospels, and I'm like, okay, well, you're interested in Christianity. Let's study together. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was like, hey, let's read the book of Acts together, and then we can talk about it. And then I read like the first 5 chapters and was like, okay, let's talk about it. And she's like, yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And,
well, so actually, do you attend church? Do they attend church? I mean,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My daughter and her mother both go to local Bible church in Santa Cruz, and I do not go with them.
all right. Does she think you go to church at all?
No.
Okay.
So
She may have more of an idea of your level of engagement with Jesus than you think, but well, okay. So, here I'll let you finish before I jump into coming out as a thing.
Oh, because so we frequently meet over at my sister's house, and my sister is also a born-again Christian, and so is one of her sons. And so I am supportive of them, even though my sister knows that I'm an atheist, and her son does not. And so when they, bring up a problem, I'll say, well, have you taken time to pray about it? Have you taken time to think about it? And I support them that way.
Okay. Is your family asking you to not reveal your godlessness, or?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So that's much more accommodationist than I was when I was in the godless closet. I can tell you, having 2 separate coming out experiences, one that was let me sit you down and tell you this very important thing about me that's different than what you think, and one being well, I happen to be wearing this bracelet that says something about an atheist community being one of the last, and there's a green section on it, and we use a green screen. Being
That
like
worked
one
great.
of the last sort of blatant things. Oh, I'm always going to this library. Oh, it's a Freethought Library. Oh, free thinkers. The kind of like, casually, generally, maybe they have an idea. In the same way that there's lots of parents that when they're raising their kid, I think my kid might be gay, maybe they're not, whatever, and it sort of gives them a longer period of time to come to terms with something as opposed to a short, sharp shock. But in either case, the person that coming out to is most important is you. It's a decision about you and the way that you relate to the people around you. And ultimately, that's a consideration of them, but it's a consideration of you and your needs as well in your community and family, etc. Obviously, I can't tell you what your situation is. You are the person that knows it best. You know your mind the best, hopefully. And so I would say, is your question kind of along the lines of, should you come out to your daughter, and or how, or?
Yeah, I mean, because I don't want to be one of those. I don't want to have one of those family relationships where 20 years from now, my daughter's going to be asking me to go to do the blessing of her children or whatever, and baptizing, and wants me to do the baptism or something like that. And I'll be like, yeah, Dad, because I was
Funny thing about
I
that.
was one of the preachers back in the church back in the day, in the 90s. So I came out of religion with their mom. So I don't want to be. So what I'm saying is I don't want to wait 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, and then be like, oh wait, I should have addressed this.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for that. Just because it was a specific example you brought up, I'm atheist, my immediate family knows it, and I recently went to my nephew's baptism. Obviously, it's a judgment about your family, and there are people that get kicked out of the house because their parents realize they're questioning their faith at age 16, and their parents are not okay with them living at home, which
I don't
is
think anything like that.
which is unacceptable as a behavior, obviously. But I would say, if you're comfortable with it and you believe that your family is comfortable with it and you're not putting yourself at risk, that's definitely something that I would encourage you to think about doing. Obviously, it's your decision. There's risks to it, but I can tell you it's much better to be out. There's also Greta Christina has a book coming out, Atheist. I think I always replace heathen. Anyway, sorry, you were saying?
No, what I was going to say was, in my experience, it helped at first when I said I don't believe, rather than saying atheist, because they needed to come to that concept first. And then I told them that is what an atheist is. Oh no, atheist is this and that. Well, actually, no, you just have a different definition. Another thing that worked for me in the past was just saying, hey, I have a thing that I've been wanting to talk to you about, but I'm worried that it can affect our relationship. I don't want to hold something about me away from the relationship that we have. And so, when you're honest and you open up and you show, hey, I'm afraid, or I love you, and this is not something that would ever change the fact that I love you. When you create that space for vulnerability, it stops being this is you and this is me and I'm an atheist and like it or fuck off. It's not one of those things. It becomes a more personal experience that you now need to deal with another human being. It doesn't work that way for everybody. The last thing I would want to do is give advice that would wind up hurting you. You seem like a really awesome guy, but the best that we can do as just regular people is give you our experience.
Yeah, and my family are regular people, and with the exception of their mother, they're very rational and compassionate.
By the way, Marcus, happy Father's Day.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, go out and hug your dads, guys. Yeah, so we're going out for. My kids are taking me to go see Deadpool. Okay, that's
nice.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't seen Deadpool yet, so that's what my kids decided to do for me today. And I've been kind of trying the slow walk to I don't believe. When I was having a talk with my daughter, we were talking about where the Bible came from, and I was talking about the Council of Nicaea, and I told her that I rejected the book of Revelation.
Okay.
As being not Christ-like, and because I said I don't see that being consistent with Jesus' message while he was on earth. So Jesus leaves earth, and now he's super rage-filled, and he's going to come back and stomp the shit out of everybody.
Sword for the mouth. Yes.
Dragons.
And
eyeball monsters. Leviathan. Let's do it.
Whatever that combination giant scorpion moth.
Oh, that stings people.
Cheetah. Yeah.
Stings them again and all that. Yeah.
And the tail of a rat. Like, I don't know. Crazy.
Well, I was surprised that her church hadn't explained end times to her. And the church also didn't explain how that the absolute law of God, that if anybody sins, you will go to hell, and the mercy of Jesus, which is, I died, you believe in me, and you get to come to the good side. And how did that happen, Emily, to my daughter? And she was like, so we went and saw Victor Hugo's play, what are they called? Les Mis. And I tried to explain to her, the law of grace, the law and grace coming together at the cross, and she was like, I'd never heard of this before. And I'm like, what church are you going to?
Yeah. Well, so here's my question. You don't believe, you speak to your family members in biblical terms talking about when Jesus was on earth, and appear to be trying to give your daughter the most biblical theocratic education. So I'm kind of confused where you are as far as raising your daughter and what you're. This is a type of scenario I've not heard of before, because I can tell you I'm not teaching my nieces and nephews.
I have. It's
Okay.
Oh, well, I think I understand your question. I'm trying to raise my, to co-parent my children to be the best selves that they can be. And if they're theists, I'm going to support you in that 100%. If you decide that you're going to move to Tibet and become a monk, I'll support you in that. If you're going to be an atheist and an engineer and work with Elon Musk and put something in orbit, I'll definitely support that as well.
Yeah. Well, so here's my thing. I'm still at a loss as to why that as a conclusion leads to the specific actions you're taking, because it seems somewhat counterintuitive entirely. I think there's a difference between, yes, I support who you are, and you're not undermining it, and also let me be exasperated at the way the church that you attend is teaching you, because presumably going to that church and learning those lessons in that way would be the actions that your daughter has chosen to take and the life she's chosen. So I'm not sure why you would reinforce the extra doctrinal aspects of the religion rather than encouraging your daughter to learn more and to think clearly.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
I mean, it may just be that I don't understand, which is why I'm asking.
Now that you put it that way, because what I've been telling myself is I'm going to explain I'm going to explain the real Christianity to you, but do it in I'm doing it in a devious way. Like I'm going to teach you all about the Christianity, and then you're going to dump it like your brothers.
Oh, okay. So your goal in saying, look at the specific doctrine, look at what's in the Bible, is a way of getting her to think about that doctrine and whether or not she accepts it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like, nobody explained to you about the end times, so you don't know that Jesus is going to turn around, become just a rageaholic and just come down and kill everybody. Well, I explained it to her. This is what it is, and this is the book of Revelation, this is where it says it. And people all over believe that.
Well, they say they believe the book that it's in, that they don't necessarily read it. So I can see where you're coming from in that.
Yeah. I would also, I've been dominating this call like crazy over Eric, but I mean, there's also, I'm not sure how big a reader your daughter is, but there's lots of books about the early history of the church and learning, this is the process by which there were all these various, very different versions of Christianity that had one God or 2 gods or 30 gods or 365 gods, and very different ideas about the creation of the earth and who Jesus was and what was Scripture.
I'm holding the book, the first 7 ecumenical councils, in my hand, and I'm reading it. And I try and educate her about, how the Bible became, the current Bible that we have, where it came from. Because I don't think anybody ever addressed it. It's like, hey, it wasn't Jesus died, rose from the dead, went to heaven. Paul got converted, and then boom, we had a Bible. At AD. At 100 B. The Common Era. I guess now what I'm feeling like is I'm being deceptive. Like I'm trying to lead her away, just like Satan would. They try and tempt the child away from the faith.
Well, yeah, she is 18.
Yeah, she's an adult, right?
Yeah, it's different, in the approach that you give because she is that age. Yeah. She's only going to take so much. But then again, that also underlies that whole, coming at it as a human, and including that human element, the worry, the fear, the concern, and the care, and to be okay with being open, when you talk to her. But again, take our advice with a grain of salt. Neither of us are therapists or people who have kids.
Yeah, I'm basically coming to you because you guys are about my daughter's age. You're in your early 20s, look like.
Aw, Marcus, I like you a lot now.
So, I just wanted to. I hate to say this. I wanted a child's perspective on this.
He thinks of you as a child.
I'm turning 31 at the beginning of
Just a number, you're still a child.
Thanks.
I was supposed to hide that under a cough. Sorry,
Thanks.
I did that wrong order.
You fuck. All right, Marcus, we're going to move on to the next call, but thank you so much for calling in. And please, if you're comfortable with letting us know what happened, we'd love to follow up.
Call in again, write in again. Yeah. Also, nothing wrong with learning that there are other religions and that they also have a history, and that era at that time had a strong storytelling tradition, and so having people tell a bunch of stories and then later having an organized church Thank you for calling in.
Okay, thanks for hearing me out, guys. It's nice to have somebody about this office.
Absolutely. You take care, right, man?
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye.
We're going to move on to Kyle in Canada, Canada. Kyle, you're live with Eric and Jamie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you two?
We're
Marvelous.
doing really well. It's a nice day today. We have an amazing studio audience here. Hi, live studio audience. Woo!
We're checking to make sure they're still awake. Yeah.
I love that. So what do you want to talk about today?
So I wanted to talk about the evolution of humanism, like in our day and age, and regard to the human story, because we've evolved to this point.
Go ahead. I think you might be playing a little fast and loose with the word evolution and evolved.
Yeah, do you mean like the development of humanism, or like...
From being cavemen to us living as we do today outside of caves with technology.
So like human development as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I
spin us a story. What do we got?
Well, to personify the whole being of humanity as one there, to say it started out as a baby and has the similar personal growth steps as us as an individual, just to personify humanity. And
why?
If we look at that lens, then like I see our time as more being in like a teenage state there, where he's addicted to some way of life and cares more about the short term. It feels good right now, and damn the long-term consequence.
That's a rather condescending view of humanity. I guess my first question for you is, do you think that there is an end point, a specific end point that would qualify humanity as being grown? Because if we're
very well could.
Well, because if you take a look at evolution by definition, right, the changes in allele frequency over time, and the specific, differences that environment has when it impacts a population over ridiculously large amounts of time, right? That process of evolution by natural selection is one that is always going to keep going. There's not a younger or a end point as much as it is a descriptor of just what happens. And so we're going to be, as a species, humans, 1,000 years from now and 1,000 years after that, we might look different, but that's just a different place along the line. It's not like it's leading up to a crescendo where we hit our best point. It's just our ability to change to best suit our environment.
Yeah. As much as it would be cool to have 2 extra arms, there's no reason to think we would develop them. I don't know why I've picked that as the best.
Kano, you've been playing Mortal Kombat.
Maybe.
No, that's not Kano. That's, what's his name?
I don't know.
Doesn't
I was
matter.
never
Now
good at Mortal
I'm in the
Kombat.
weeds.
So my question is, to what end? Like, are you, sorry, just to clarify, are you calling in to explain what you believe, or like a theistic perspective on humans and human existence through the lens of a god?
Well, I was just trying to explain that I think we may be maturing as a human being.
What do you mean when you say maturing? Sorry to cut across you, but I'm just having a little bit of trouble following you.
To take the long-term view, to see what sacrifices we need to make in the short term to make those actions for the long-term benefit. And that's kind of the opposite of more teenage or adolescence mindset, where they do what feels good in the short term and don't really care about the long-term consequences. They don't make that connection.
I can say that I agree with that. Right now, the development of societies and countries and technology are such that we can do planning for the future. Like, the UN exists, and it's got 5 and 7, 10, I forget how many year plans to try and eradicate poverty, et cetera. So to the degree that as a species, we are doing better at overall at planning for ourselves, I think I agree. Does that relate specifically to what you believe about the existence of a God? What is that? Even? So what, do you believe that this is guided by God? I'm sort of wondering what this role this has in relation to your belief in a God.
It's to find care for life again there. Like, I see a difference between death worship and honoring life, and I think that a lot of religious mindsets is to put heaven as a superior and earth as an inferior, so life isn't as important as heaven is. And so I think in that regard, atheists and other people care more about life and more about being more humane.
I mean, I can generally agree with that. Atheist is a wide group and encompasses some strange people. Sorry, our notes have you marked as a person that believes in the existence of a God. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that God have any qualities? Like, what is that? What is it that you believe exists, just to clarify?
I mean, you called an atheist show.
Yeah,
That's what we ask.
That's where we got to turn, yeah.
Well, my thing is about to care about life, and in many regards, religions put life at lesser value than the spiritual or the religious.
Okay.
And I it's kind of an ironic thing that it's like atheists can care about what's happening in life and life itself more than a religious person who thinks they can just go to heaven and life on earth doesn't really matter as much because heaven is superior. So my view is like, yes, there is. I just don't prescribe them equality at this moment.
Okay, so I agree, which is kind of a new experience on a show when a believer calls in. So you believe that a God exists, but you don't believe it has any qualities. Can I ask you what your religious background is? Were you raised in a church or a temple or a mosque or a synagogue?
I was raised pretty much in the wilderness with my parents there, and my mother always told me to care about Jesus, but not to the religious side of it. There is just man's creation, and that's how I was taught.
So when she said care about Jesus, did she teach you to care about Jesus with a Bible?
No, it was more the intention of his life in that regard there. So I have read the Bible on my own, but that's separate from going to a church.
Okay, so do you have some belief that Jesus is real, is God, and is the Son of God, and died on a cross so that all humans could be forgiven for original sin?
I interpret it differently than others. So yes.
How do you interpret it?
Well, the Holy Trinity, like there's the Son, the Father, the Holy Ghost, and the way that I've seen it is the Father was the Old Testament, and then the Son was the New Testament, and there's the Holy Ghost, and that's kind of the next phase, and that's kind of to do with humans maturing from the short-term to the long-term in a way, to circle back to my original call there. But
yeah, I mean, it seems like you were raised that organized religion is the product of human beings, but that there is this God, and like, so do you pray to God?
Life is a prayer, like your actions in life, like instead of.
Okay, but I mean, you don't like kneel and say the Lord's Prayer before.
The things I would ask God for me is what I try to aspire in action, kind of thing there. So that's in a way.
Because so far, pretty much everything you've said, except for being taught to care about Jesus, is entirely non-religious and, non-theistic, effectively. Like, human society is developing, religions are man-made. So I'm almost wondering why you don't say that you're not a non-believer.
I in good conscience, in a way, I just can't bring myself to that point with the way that I view life, and I don't really identify as a religious person. I identify as a spiritual person. And
what does that mean?
Yeah, can you specify what you mean by that?
That's where we run into, like, I know you don't really like that hooey kind of stuff there, but
well, it just depends on what your definition is.
Yeah. I mean, we do keep the lines open, so we want you to call in with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the maturing of humanity and the long-term view, I kind of see as like a reuniting us as a human family, because we're all one in ways with our Mother Earth, with nature, kind of thing, because we've grown from small to big, and we all this other kind of stuff.
In population size. So, I mean, the argument can be made that that's more easily done with a critical analysis of reality as it can be understood. That is to say, through scientific inquiry than through the practice of spirituality, right? Even it's critical scientific analysis also provides a better path to humanism, skepticism, and not to try and win the Miss America pageant, but to world peace as well. I'm happy to be Mr. Texas, but
do you have the boots?
I'm not wearing them right now.
I All right.
Yeah, but no, what I would say is, Kyle, I want to continue this conversation because the only thing I think that's holding you back from effectively, well, I don't know whether you live in Austin, but stopping by the ACA is thinking more critically about what the word spiritual.
He's in Canada.
Ah, okay. Yeah, well, that's why you read the second line. So planes exist, and you should fly here. But also, you're talking very vaguely about what spirituality is. You've taken the initiative to call into an atheist show where we discuss what people believe and why. You're talking sort of in a very, very introspective way about the development of humanity and growing from small to big. I have many friends that think about the world in the same terminology that you do, but even they would say, like, I don't really believe in a God. So the question that I have to ask, because particularly in this country, when people say a God, usually they mean, oh, it's Jesus, I pray to him, and if I pray, my prayers can be answered. And as best I can tell, nothing like that exists in your vocabulary. And as best I can tell, nothing in your understanding of the world around you suggests a mystical, magical power, right? I'm very there with you in conceptual ideas of, I don't know what you mean by returning when you say returning to Mother Earth, but understanding that we're human beings, that we breathe oxygen, that this is our home, and that we need to take care of our planet, whether you call that planet Mother Earth or not. I'm wondering, what do you see as the difference between yourself and a person that would say, I'm an atheist? I mean, I'm trying not to press you too hard on this, but.
Well, it's the spiritual side there. Like I have a view on that stuff there, and we have. You have
a beeline?
Pardon?
I didn't hear the word.
It's the spiritual side that I still stick to, and I just don't. I suck at communicating that. So.
Okay, well, it's probably. Yeah, it kind of feels like you haven't critically examined what the spiritual means, what that means even to you, right? Like, I don't know whether that means anything in your daily life. I don't know whether you pray over your food. I don't know what the difference is from that. If I had to guess, it would be a kind of feeling of positive stuff about nature, and I would really encourage you to think about what exactly that means. Are you willing to call back again next week? Because we should probably move to another caller because we've got
we've got other
good lines. Like, are you willing to call back next week or email directly?
Yes, and just to clarify, like, spirituality to me is just coming together, and I talked about reuniting the human family, and you could do that. And
if it helps at all, it might very well help you to think about the fact that that's what we do here, and we're atheists, and
the word spirituality carries with it a
ton of baggage that involves casting spells, etc.
And just, it may be easier to communicate what you mean by not using that as a descriptor.
Yes, I see it. It's a bad word, and it's not really.
Yeah. Can I get you to call in next week? Well, unless you had something you wanted to.
No. I appreciate your time, Lawrence, and you guys are great.
No, I mean that. Please call in next week. It's easier to think about things when you're not on the phone and have to respond immediately.
Okay, I appreciate the invitation. I will do so, and I appreciate your time once again.
Absolutely.
Cool.
See you next week.
Thanks, Kyle. Talk to you then.
Thanks.
All right. We're going to move on to Zane in Atlanta, Georgia. Zane, you are live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
Hello.
Hello. It sounds like you've Oh, okay, it got quieter. I heard a lot of stuff in the background. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, it's kind of hard to summarize, but basically, kind of raised religious, baptized at 13, and always had pretty decent meetings when going to churches, even many different churches. But recently, I went to a Sunday meeting where it was a very hostile message against gays, which made me, feel uncomfortable and kind of make the decision to not go back into churches. And I kind of went under the fence against the whole argument of y'all just want to sin, because since I'm still a believer, I don't really think I have anything to say to counter that.
Well, so you said you are a believer and you don't know how to counter the argument that you want to sin, therefore you don't believe. Is that about right? I'm sorry, I don't feel like I caught all of that.
Well, against the argument of, you're just leaving because you don't want to listen to, counsel, so on and so forth.
I'm hearing a high-pitched whine or a buzzing in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to move away from it. I'm outside.
Okay. I mean, I think it would be interesting to point out that at this point that those objections have nothing to do about whether or not something is true or whether or not you believe something is true, which might be a good place to start.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was something that was ingrained in me through growing up, that I, had to watch out for these sinful behaviors. And it took a long time for me to really piece together that, well, why is this considered a sin? Why is finding someone attractive a sin? It's committing lust in your heart.
Thought crime.
Yeah, who cares, right? Or that the sin of Onan, spilling your own seed, masturbating. Why is that something truly terrible? And so, I definitely can understand people coming to that, oh, well, you just want to sin. Well, you have to believe in sin to want to sin. Otherwise, you're just being a person, right?
Right.
Because otherwise, it makes it's completely nonsensical. And so for somebody who says, you just want to sin, therefore, it is a presupposition that they think that you would buy into that idea and therefore you're on the same platform. They need to show you what this sin is and why I should give a crap about what they consider morally good or bad. I mean, if it's just some arbitrary thing that they're bringing up, then who cares? Just
to clarify very quickly, Zane, is that something that you believe accurately describes some or all gay people, or?
What do you mean? I do buy into the idea that there's things that God don't like, and that does make it a sin.
Okay.
Why would God make gay people, Zane?
Yes, but also, do you think that gay people are gay despite believing that a God, like a person that believes, a God exists and he'll punish me for doing this forever, but I'm going to do it anyway just 'cause? Like, are we talking about belief and non-belief, or whether or not someone...
I think that exists, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, okay, so you think a God exists and you think that your God gets really, really sad because gay people? Is that right?
Well, I don't know about sad, but upset, yeah.
Okay, then why would God make gay people?
I don't know, but it still exists.
Well, would you make someone...
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't make a contraption that's going to kick me in the nuts every morning because, right? Like if I had the ability to create the world, if I was a god and I could make the world that I wanted to make, I wouldn't make said nut-kicking contraption, right?
Metaphorical nut-kicking contraption.
Or physical. It depends. It doesn't really matter. But the point is it seems like this kind of follows a line of thinking that, have you heard the pots meant to be broken phrase?
No.
No, that there are some pots that were made to be broken, that there are some human beings that God created who are destined to go to hell.
Destruction? Yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah. Do you think that your God would do that? Because that would challenge whether or not you think you have a loving God, because I don't think you could have both of those things at the same time.
I don't know, but I don't really see where the whole, defensive argument comes into that for you.
Well, the argument comes in when, if you're saying that you want to appease a God who is going to send people to eternal torment and say that that God is loving, the disconnect there is enough for me to step in and go, no, that is not a position that I would.
Yeah, to be clear, you believe that your God created the universe, the world, all of the people, and loves and cares about human beings? Or rather, do you believe that God created all of the people and cares and loves about all of his children?
Yeah.
Okay. And God is unhappy, upset with gay people.
Yes.
So why is there any reason to believe that a God would create people and then be unhappy with people the way that he created them?
I don't know.
Well, that would be the pots meant to be broken.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, do you think that your God do you think your God cares enough to intervene in whether or not someone is going to suffer eternally? Do you think that your God cares enough or is powerful enough to do so?
Yeah, powerful enough, yeah.
Okay, do you think your God cares enough to do so?
Yeah, but still chooses not to always intervene.
Why?
That's bullshit.
Yeah,
Why
would a God do that?
Because that tells me that your God doesn't care very much at all. Yeah. I think that you might care. Actually, I would put money on the idea that you would care more than that God in that case, that any of these people in the studio audience would care more than that God.
Any of the people in our live studio audience.
Woo! Oh, they're all tired.
Yeah, they've been sitting for an hour.
But do you get what I mean? Like, you're saying that, how do you respond to somebody who says this about God, when the question is, you got to back up, because there are a lot of presuppositions about that. You're assuming that everybody knows about that God and that everybody believes the same thing, and you're also assuming that that God exists, right? And so if you are positing that that God exists, then the question for us is, how could you come to that conclusion and still think that that God is loving, right? And if that God is loving, then that God is impotent, because that God is not doing anything, right? So either the God doesn't care at all, right, is apathetic, or that God is impotent and can't do it, or both, or neither, or that God just doesn't exist. I mean...
Yeah, a God that does nothing, you can't tell the difference between a God that does nothing and nothing.
So I'm trying to reason you through why that is. I mean, that's the answer that I've brought to you, is that either your God doesn't know, doesn't care, or can't help, right? Because why would you put the onus on the creation if you're assuming that there's a creator who could fix those things? It's the problem of evil.
There's still always the argument of those people could be fixed if they were just, obey and worship.
Really? Are you gay? Zane, do you have feelings for men that you don't act upon?
I actually do.
You do? There's a better life out there. You don't need to torment yourself, man. You don't need to put that kind of hardship on yourself. Because I'll tell you that as someone who is not attracted to men, I've never been attracted to men. That's never been something that I've had to deal with. And it's okay. It's okay.
I don't know. I wasn't really asking because I'm struggling to not act on those things. I was really just asking so then I'll have an argument about why I don't feel like going back.
So
you don't feel like going back. What do you mean? Maybe I completely misunderstood what you meant. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't feel. I want to have an argument for why I don't feel like going back to church. I don't really have troubles, holding back, my acting on attraction, but I do want to have an argument for not wanting to go back to church, though.
Sure. So you can say that to them.
Yeah.
Say, I don't believe in a God that would love me and torment and send me to hell. I mean, that is enough.
But then I'll be lying if I say that.
Yeah. Do you believe in a God that would
both loves you and would
damn you to hell for acting on your gay thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why you don't want to go back to church? It's not super enjoyable. Given a choice between seeing the new Deadpool movie that I also have yet to see, and I'm very jealous of a previous caller that he gets to see that, and attending a church service, I know what my choice would be just because I enjoy one or the other. But if the argument is, oh, you, Zane, just want to sin, pointing out that you're not sinning in that way would be an argument. Do you just not like church? Because that's entirely valid.
No, church isn't entertaining enough. No, just that one particular service that I went to was just kind of very hostile, and I don't.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to engage.
Usually, it's just something that's just skimmed over. But then that particular meeting was something where it's just kind of it was pretty much 1/3 of the focus,
Yeah, just a particularly hateful sermon.
Yeah.
Hey, Zane, I want to share something with you. When I see people who are going to condemn other people for loving others, right? When I come across people who are going to subjugate, hurt, and torment people physically and emotionally, because I do consider that a kind of torment, a kind of horrendous action, then please join me in saying, fuck those people. Fuck those people. You don't need that in your life. You don't need that kind of bullshit, man. Really, honestly, what does somebody who would say that to you, right, to your face, what would that kind of person have beneficially in your life? Because all I see is somebody justifying their own hatred and using you as a target. You don't need that, man.
When two of them are your neighbors, one of them is the former pastor, one of them is the current deacon, so on and so forth, and would still be somebody who you see every day. I don't know, man. It's kind of who else do you pick as friends?
So I moved to Texas. But let me tell you something. It's way better than coming from the church that I came from. It's way better than coming from a church where children were kicked out on the street and abused, where husbands used that church to beat their wives, where people were ostracized and kicked out, where people backbit each other and told on each other to the pastor so that they could try and be the highest elevated in that church, where elders sat and victim blamed victims of rape and said, oh, you were raped, but she was kind of a slut. Did you see what she wore last weekend? When I look back at that church, those were a lot of relationships that I had. And there has to come a point where you're better than that, man. You're better than that community, because that is a toxic environment. It really is.
I really don't know what to do from here because I was trying to really look for a way to make an exit on making the meetings while still not be, ruining the friendship.
Well, let's put our heads together.
We still see each other outside of the church.
What you can do is
I don't know what.
you can start to separate the image of the evil homosexual from the reality that is you, right? When you humanize something that is caricatured and portrayed in such a horrendous way, that's why, Jamie and I do this show, is because we want people to go, hey, oh, that's what an atheist is? Oh, I had no idea, right? I mean, when you become a human face for a thing, it's much harder for somebody to punch it. It's much harder for somebody to create a straw man when they know that you exist. Are you out or not?
No, definitely not out.
I would totally not do that in your situation then.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't sound like that's a... So to be clear, you have stopped going to the church because you felt like that particular sermon was particularly hateful and... I mean,
that kind of... it was a really bad one that just made me feel...
But, you still believe. So presumably you can just, do people not think that you actually believe in your God if you don't go to church?
No.
Okay, so presumably you called in looking for a response to the argument, well, you're not coming back to church because you want to sin, but you've also said that you're not sinning. So I'm sort of, I'm happy to talk to you about how that doctrine in particular, or doctrine in general, is ill-founded and harmful, but I'm wondering whether we've answered your initial question.
I don't know. The way the conversation goes is you just don't want to listen to counsel. You don't want nobody to tell you anything when it comes down to the whole subject of, hey, why don't you go back? And I don't know really what to say to that. And I really don't want anything hostile to say back to them because I still do want to befriend them outside the church.
I feel like saying just that. I don't really feel like the church service and the actual church part of this community of people that I know and care about is for me. I care about you. I mean, it may come to a point where you're going to figure out that there are people that you know and care about and that care about you that aren't going to maintain a friendship with you unless you do something that you don't want to do. And I would encourage you not to be peer pressured into participating in, basically any group activity. It's a difficult situation. I mean, usually the thing that we end up giving advice about is this exact situation, except the caller doesn't believe. You've said that you believe in a God and that God is unhappy with homosexuals. Do you believe in the specific doctrines of the religion you were raised in still?
I was brought up Baptist, and my best friend, he incorporates some, some Islamic and Judaism beliefs into it as well, so I kind of adopted that with him. Not much. I mean...
Wait, so some Islamic and Jewish beliefs.
Yeah.
So can you expand on that a little bit?
I mean, basically just saying, remember how with Ishmael, about how it broke off with the two brothers. So,
Isaac and Ishmael,
this kind of, it's hard to explain without talking forever, but I mean, just basically still having positive thoughts towards Judaism and Islam.
Well,
like, there's no negative outlook on them like how it is with some other, other Christians might have a negative
I feel like I know where you're coming from. I would say that what you're describing to me is not an adoption of a set of beliefs. It's just sort of a kind of general feeling. Like, so for example, I'm not sure when you reached out and adopted these beliefs, but did you observe Ramadan?
Yeah, it just ended. I think.
Yeah, no, I was asking. So you fasted from sunup until sundown?
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you why?
To go ahead and quiet the body, and you go ahead and listen to God more.
Okay. So do you think that there's a particular significance to the Islamic month of Ramadan? As far as that time period, like you could,
time of the year
you could
itself?
fast
Like,
tomorrow.
do it another time of the year?
Sorry?
Oh yeah, you could do that.
Yeah. So why? I mean, I've been there with picking up, religious practices and superstitions. Eric loves Christmas, although that's mostly other
Fucking love Christmas.
Yeah, other.
Zane, fight me. I love Christmas.
No, but what I would say, Zane, is it doesn't. I'm missing the conflict here. Like they want you to come back to church. You don't want to come back to church. Presumably the reason you called in is because they're saying, oh, you left the church because you just want to sin, you won't listen to counsel, etc. I mean, it kind of sounds like they're not going to take no for an answer. So you can tell them, sure, whatever, no, my beliefs are private, leave me alone, I'm open to being friends. But ultimately, and unfortunately, they can unilaterally decide, well, that they're not going to be friends with you unless you kowtow and do whatever they want, which I would say is not a healthy relationship.
It is a really shitty life, man.
Yeah.
But
so, is there anything else that you can do? I mean, if they're not going to respect you as your own person, then I don't really know of a way of getting them to do that.
Yeah, we really do want to continue this conversation. You're getting a love bomb, by the way, on the live chat. A lot of people who are very excited about the Talk Heathen Facebook discussion group are saying, you should join the Facebook discussion group. It's launching tomorrow, and there are a lot of people who'd love to be able to talk to you and maybe help out.
Yeah, do you use Facebook often or other social media for community?
No.
Fine.
Well,
are you open to starting to? Because there's a lot of cool conversations that can be had, actually, on this topic all the time.
I could.
We'd like that. We'd like to see you there.
Yeah, and are you willing to call back again next week?
Okay.
That sounds good. We'd like to hear from you, man.
All right.
All right. We're going to move on, but you take care, all right?
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
So
and
actually,
quick announcements before we go on to our last call.
Yep. So a couple announcements. First, we've had some really, really awesome people donating in the Super Chat. Thank you so much for that. I saw Chelsea, I saw John, I saw Steve in there. Hi, Steve. I saw people saying this was a good chat. They enjoyed it. There was one hashtag that was in there. But we do want to say, if you would like to donate, if you'd like to help make this show continue, please consider donating to our Patreon, patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. That's right. If you go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me, you can get the podcast ad-free. You can, at the next level, get the YouTube, patron-only YouTube videos on the YouTubes.
You can watch YouTubes on the YouTube.
It really will help to
make everything that we do better. If you
are in the top 5, we will thank you by name every episode, and it's affordable because there aren't too many patrons.
Get in there now.
Yes.
You can be internet famous forever. When Eric Murphy is a household name and translated into 100 different languages, I don't know how you translate the name Eric. You translate it into 100 languages, you will be able to tell your grandparents that in the year 2018, you supported Eric Murphy doing stuff.
That makes me. I don't know how to handle that. So
You can't handle
Right,
destiny, Eric.
check us out on Facebook.
Yeah.
The live
Facebook.
discussion group is going on. Tomorrow, the official Talk Heathen discussion group on Facebook is coming up. We really, really like that. And I know it is 2:30, but do you want to take one last call?
I think we can probably. Yeah, I think we can take one in after show. Because we got to get out here.
You know what? Maybe we should do after show stuff on Patreon.
Maybe.
Right? Take some calls afterward and engage a
And
little
then
more
hold
in the
them
chat.
hostage.
I
to
love that.
Yeah, okay.
Well, then we're going to take.
I'd like to point out that
the
Eric
rest
has
of our
admitted he
calls.
loves hostages. All right.
We're going to take the rest of our calls after the show. If you'd
Yeah.
like to continue the conversation with us, please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber. I guess we need to make that Patreon level.
Yeah.
And we'll make this available.
And so, for those of you that don't believe...
Hold on. We got to get some love rings. Okay. Those of
And
you
so, for those of you that don't believe, come here. You've got plenty of community.
We've got lots of love here. And for those of you who do, we don't hate you. We just think you're
your
wrong.
epistemology is flawed. No, are we? I thought we were switching to the actual...
Did you what?
Were we not?
No.
Just you're wrong? We're never going to switch it. But
How are we going to switch it?
Okay, well...
No, is that
maybe
why you
we
get it
should
wrong every
change
time?
it.
You get it wrong every time because you thought that we were...
Okay, no.